The rain pelted against the windshield as Marcus Whitley stared at his phone in disbelief. 3 missed calls from school, and a text that made his heart sink. Lily's fever is 102. Please come immediately. He glanced at the clock, 6:30 p.m., then at his boss's office where the executive team was still meeting. If he left now, it would be the 3rd emergency this month. But what choice did he have? As he gathered his things, the corner office door swung open, and CEO Victoria Blackwood emerged, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that stopped him cold. Going somewhere, Mr. Whitley? She asked, her voice cutting through the empty office. Before he could answer, she stepped closer and whispered words that would change everything. Take me home or you're fired. What happened next would prove that sometimes, the most powerful people carry the heaviest burdens, and that kindness can come from the most unexpected places. If you've ever felt trapped between impossible choices or judged someone before knowing their full story, this video will touch your heart. Like and subscribe to see more real stories that remind us of our shared humanity, and leave a comment letting us know if you've ever misjudged someone who later surprised you. Marcus stood frozen, his daughter's text still glowing on his phone screen. Victoria Blackwood was not just any CEO, she was a legend in the finance world, known for her ruthless efficiency and impossibly high standards. At 38, she had built Pinnacle Investments from the ground up, and rumors about her cold demeanor and impossible expectations followed her everywhere. Ms. Blackwood, Marcus began, his voice catching. How could he explain that his 7-year-old daughter was sick again, that the school nurse was waiting, that he had no one else to call? That since Elaine died 2 years ago, he was all Lily had in the world? I don't want excuses, Victoria said, her voice strangely quiet. It was then that Marcus noticed something he'd never seen before, her hands were trembling. My driver called in sick. I need a ride home. Now. The executive team filed out behind her, nodding politely at Marcus as they passed. He'd been at Pinnacle for just 3 months as a financial analyst, a significant step down from his previous position, but it was the only job that offered the flexibility he needed as a single father. He couldn't lose it. Of course, he said, although his mind was racing with panic. What about Lily? He sent a quick text to the school nurse, emergency at work. Coming as soon as possible. The elevator ride down to the parking garage was silent and tense. Marcus's ancient Honda sat between luxury vehicles, its faded paint and dented fender a stark reminder of how far he'd fallen since Elaine's medical bills had drained their savings. This is your car? Victoria asked, her eyebrow arched as he opened the passenger door. Yes, ma'am, Marcus replied, hurriedly clearing Lily's booster seat and a scatter of crayons from the front seat. I apologize for the mess. To his surprise, Victoria said nothing more as she slid into the seat. She simply gave him an address in the most exclusive neighborhood in the city and then stared straight ahead. Marcus pulled out of the garage, his mind on Lily. He needed to explain, to ask if he could drop Victoria off and then rush to his daughter. But before he could speak, his phone rang, the school's number flashing on the screen connected to his car's Bluetooth. I'm sorry, he said to Victoria, I need to take this. It's my daughter's school. Without waiting for permission, he answered. Hello? This is Marcus Whitley. Mr. Whitley, the school nurse's voice filled the car. Lily's fever is getting worse, and she's asking for you. I've given her children's Tylenol, but she really needs to go home or to a doctor. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm dealing with a work emergency. Can you give me another 30 minutes? Mr. Whitley, this is the 3rd time this month. I know, he said, his voice cracking. Please, just a little more time. When he hung up, the car fell into silence. Marcus could feel Victoria's eyes on him, but he kept his gaze fixed on the road, blinking back tears of frustration and worry. Your daughter is sick, Victoria said finally. It wasn't a question. Yes, Marcus admitted. She has a fever. I was trying to leave when you when you needed a ride. He expected anger, or at least irritation, but Victoria surprised him. Change of plans. Take me to the school first. Marcus turned to her in shock. What? You heard me. Your daughter needs you. I'm not a monster, Mr. Whitley. There was something in her voice he couldn't identify. Which school? 20 minutes later, they pulled up to Westside Elementary. Victoria insisted on coming inside with him, trailing behind as he rushed to the nurse's office. Lily was curled up on a cot, her cheeks flushed with fever, clutching the stuffed rabbit Elaine had given her before she died. Daddy, she cried when she saw him, her small arms reaching out. Marcus gathered her up, pressing his lips to her forehead. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm so sorry it took so long. She needs to see a doctor, the nurse said, her tone making it clear what she thought of Marcus's parenting. Her fever isn't responding to medication, and this is happening too frequently. Marcus nodded, the familiar shame washing over him. Lily had been getting sick more often since Elaine died, as if grief had weakened her immune system along with his. The medical bills were piling up, and their health insurance was basic at best. I'll take her to urgent care right away, he promised, though he knew it would mean another bill he couldn't afford. He'd almost forgotten Victoria was there until she stepped forward. I'm Victoria Blackwood, Mr. Whitley's employer, she said to the nurse, her voice carrying the authority that made boardrooms go silent. He was in an important meeting when you called. The fact that he's here now shows his priorities are exactly where they should be. The nurse blinked in surprise, then nodded. Of course. I didn't mean to imply. I have a private physician on call, Victoria continued, looking at Marcus. He can see Lily immediately. No waiting room, no forms to fill out. Marcus stared at her. Ms. Blackwood, that's very generous, but... It's not generosity, it's efficiency, she cut him off. You're a valuable employee, and I need you focused. You can't do that if you're worried about your daughter. Before Marcus could protest further, Victoria was on her phone, speaking rapidly to someone named Dr. Chen. Minutes later, they were back in Marcus's car, with Lily bundled in the back seat, still clutching her rabbit. Turn left at the next light, Victoria directed, and Marcus realized they were heading toward her neighborhood, not a medical office. Where are we going? He asked. My home. Dr. Chen is meeting us there. She glanced back at Lily. It will be more comfortable than an urgent care waiting room. Marcus couldn't argue with that, though the situation felt surreal. 12 hours ago, Victoria Blackwood had been the intimidating CEO who barely acknowledged his existence. Now she was arranging medical care for his daughter. They pulled up to a stunning modern house with clean lines and walls of glass. Despite Lily's fever and his confusion, Marcus couldn't help but stare. It was the kind of home featured in architectural magazines, beautiful but somehow sterile, with no toys in the yard or signs that a family lived there. Dr. Chen was already waiting, a kind-faced man who immediately put Lily at ease. As he examined her in one of the guest bedrooms, Victoria led Marcus to her kitchen, a gleaming space with marble countertops and high-end appliances that looked barely used. Tea? She asked, filling an electric kettle. Why are you doing this? Marcus blurted out, unable to contain the question any longer. Victoria's movements stilled. For a moment, she seemed to be considering how much to say. Because I know what it's like, she finally answered, her back still to him. To be pulled in impossible directions. To feel like you're failing at everything. She turned to face him, and for the first time, Marcus saw beyond the powerful CEO to the woman beneath. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia, she said quietly. The "take me home or you're fired" comment, I needed to get home for my medication. I was about to collapse. Marcus felt the floor shift beneath him. I had no idea. No one does, except my medical team and now you. She managed a small smile. I've worked very hard to keep it that way. The board would replace me in a heartbeat if they knew. That's why you needed a ride, Marcus realized. The trembling. She nodded. The treatment makes me too weak to drive sometimes. My regular driver knows, but when he called in sick. She shrugged. I couldn't exactly call an Uber and risk being recognized. Before Marcus could respond, Dr. Chen entered the kitchen. Lily has a recurring upper respiratory infection, he explained. Nothing too serious, but it explains the frequent fevers. I've prescribed an antibiotic and suggested some immune-boosting supplements. He handed Marcus a prescription. She's resting comfortably now. Thank you, Marcus said, gratitude washing over him. How much do I owe you? Dr. Chen glanced at Victoria. It's already taken care of. After the doctor left, an awkward silence fell between Marcus and Victoria. I should get Lily home, he said finally. She's sleeping, Victoria pointed out. And it's pouring rain. Stay for dinner at least. I, don't actually cook, but I order excellent takeout. The casual admission from someone so polished made Marcus smile. I cook, he offered. It's my stress relief. If you have ingredients, I could make something. To his surprise, Victoria accepted, and soon they were moving around her kitchen together, Marcus preparing a simple pasta dish while Victoria set the table. It was surprisingly comfortable. How long have you been a single parent? Victoria asked as they worked. 2 years, Marcus replied, focusing on chopping vegetables to hide the pain that still surfaced. My wife, Elaine, had breast cancer. By the time they caught it. He shook his head. I'm sorry, Victoria said softly. That explains why you took a position below your qualifications. I checked your resume when I saw your application. You were a senior financial strategist at Morgan Stanley. Marcus nodded. After Elaine got sick, I needed flexibility more than prestige or money. Though money would help, he admitted with a wry smile. The medical bills wiped out our savings, and now with Lily's frequent illnesses. Is that why you were trying to leave early today? Financial pressure? No, Marcus said firmly. Lily always comes first. Job or no job. Victoria studied him for a long moment. You know, Pinnacle needs a new head of family financial planning. It's a division I've wanted to build out, focusing on helping families navigate major life events, education, healthcare, retirement. The hours are regular, and it comes with comprehensive health insurance. The position would report directly to me. Marcus nearly dropped the knife he was holding. Are you offering me a promotion? I'm suggesting you apply, Victoria corrected, but her smile gave her away. You have the qualifications, and more importantly, you understand the human side of financial planning in a way most of my MBAs don't. Why would you do this for me? Marcus asked, genuinely confused. Victoria's expression turned serious. When I was diagnosed, I had money, power, the best doctors, but no one to drive me home on the days I could barely stand. No one to make me pasta when I couldn't eat anything else. She gestured around her beautiful, empty house. Success means nothing without people to share it with. I built Pinnacle by being ruthless, but I've learned that's not enough. And what do you get out of this arrangement? Marcus asked carefully. An excellent financial planner, Victoria said promptly. And maybe, occasional rides home when my driver is unavailable. Her attempted lightness couldn't quite mask her vulnerability. In return, you get a job that values both your professional skills and your commitment to your daughter. Before Marcus could respond, a small voice called from the hallway. Daddy? Lily stood there in her rumpled clothes, looking better than she had at the school. Her eyes widened as she took in the unfamiliar surroundings. Where are we? At my friend Victoria's house, Marcus explained, crossing to her. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Hungry, Lily said, eyeing the pasta sauce simmering on the stove. Victoria smiled. Perfect timing. Dinner's almost ready. To Marcus's amazement, Victoria proved surprisingly good with Lily, asking about her favorite subjects at school and listening intently to her 7-year-old logic. By the time they finished eating, Lily was showing Victoria how to draw rabbits like her stuffed one, and Victoria was taking it as seriously as a board presentation. When it was time to leave, the rain had stopped, and Lily was yawning despite her nap. Victoria walked them to the door. Think about the position, she said quietly to Marcus. The formal listing will be posted tomorrow. Marcus nodded, suddenly overwhelmed by the day's events. Thank you. For everything. Marcus, Victoria said as he turned to go. I meant what I said earlier. I'm not a monster. Just someone who forgot that being human is more important than being powerful. She smiled ruefully. Sometimes we all need reminding of what really matters. As they drove home, Lily already half asleep in the back seat, Marcus reflected on Victoria's words. He had judged her as coldly as others had judged him when he rushed out for Lily's emergencies. They had both been fighting private battles no one else could see. The next morning, Marcus submitted his application for the head of family financial planning position. 3 weeks later, he started his new role, with hours that let him pick Lily up from school most days and a salary that finally allowed them to move to a better apartment closer to both work and Lily's school. Victoria never again explicitly mentioned her illness to Marcus, but there was an unspoken understanding between them. On the days when her hands trembled slightly during meetings, Marcus would find an excuse to offer her a ride home. Sometimes they would stop for dinner, Victoria joining their little family around the table, her laughter mixing with Lily's. 6 months after that rainy night, Victoria invited them to her home again, but this time it wasn't empty or sterile. She had transformed one of the spare rooms into a playroom for Lily, complete with art supplies and books. For when you both visit, she explained, almost shyly. As time passed, these visits became more frequent. Victoria taught Lily about business and investing using toy shops and lemonade stands as examples. Marcus helped Victoria create a more balanced life, reminding her that even CEOs needed rest and human connection. 3 years later, when Victoria's cancer went into remission, Marcus and Lily were the first people she told, sharing tears and cake around their kitchen table. By then, the lines between employer and friend, between two separate families and one chosen one, had blurred beyond recognition. On a warm spring day, as they all sat in the garden Victoria had finally gotten around to planting, Lily, now 10 and thriving, asked the question that had been forming in Marcus's mind for months. Why doesn't Victoria just live with us all the time? She asked innocently. She's here almost every day anyway. Marcus and Victoria exchanged a look that held a future neither had dared imagine when they first met. That, Victoria said slowly, reaching for Marcus's hand, is an excellent question, Lily. And one I think your dad and I should discuss. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, they sat together on the porch swing of the home they would soon share. Who would have thought, Marcus mused, that, take me home or you're fired, would lead to this? Victoria laughed, the sound free and unburdened in a way it hadn't been when they first met. Sometimes the most demanding people are just the most desperate, she said softly. And sometimes the people we think are failing are actually the strongest of all. Marcus nodded, thinking of how far they had both come, he from drowning in grief and responsibility, she from isolation and fear. And sometimes, he added, the family you need finds you when you least expect it. As Victoria leaned her head against his shoulder, Marcus knew that what had started as an impossible choice on a rainy evening had become the most fortunate moment of his life. They had saved each other in ways neither could have imagined, proving that behind every struggle lies the possibility of unexpected grace, and that judging someone's story before knowing its chapters is the greatest mistake of all. The end.